your relationships moving forward, etc. So just a quick background. I'm only telling this because I think it's helpful sometimes to see people's paths, and I'm a couple years out from you all, but I've also had the chance. For me, it's been helpful to see people's, what steps people have done. As Mary said, I studied social anthropology and social psychology for my undergrad. Has anyone in psych or anthro? Okay, good. So then hopefully the content tonight is new. Then I went and worked at Disney for a number of years, and I was working as an Imagineer. And I was looking specifically at how you understand the way people feel when they're entering the parks and how do you shape their experiences. So I was building mobile apps for the theme parks. I was looking at wait times and buffet lines and how to get people to reuse towels in the hotel rooms and all kinds of different projects, which I'm happy to, if you're interested in working for Disney, I'm happy to talk to you about at some point. And then, as Marie said, I found this program that's called Technology and Social Behavior. So it's half computer science, half communication studies, and it kind of looks at this intersection of the way people behave and how do you design technology that really affects people. And so I've been working here now, just finally finishing. It's a 5-year program, and also on the way started this the nonprofit Brave Initiatives, which teaches girls how to code, and worked at Facebook. So you kind of heard that, but just to see how the journey flipped. Okay, one thing. Oh yeah, when I start. So I was a student athlete myself. Wrestled with it. It was I guess I'll just say when I started freshman year, I had come with this high ego. I had in my high school years had been, played well and had gotten a lot of awards. And I got to college and was basically a bench warmer for 4 years, and mostly just had to support teammates. I remember someone said that my role was like to be the team hugger, which was if you're an athlete, as you each know, it's not necessarily the best role or necessarily the role that I wanted to go into. But it was also a big learning experience for me of what it feels like to be someone that sits on the bench a lot, and also someone that really has to be a team player in that kind of environment when you're not necessarily happy about it. So what I wanted to actually do to start was actually have you think about, I want you to think about first, before I tell you my own story with this, I want you to think about someone who's really shaped your journey in athletics. Someone who played a particularly important role in your journey, and I'll bring the question up in a second, and what about them specifically was it that shaped you? So maybe just, if you've got a piece of paper, something in front of you, I want you to just think about one person in your athletic career who really impacted you. Okay, I'm just going to talk you through this part. Okay, so yeah, think of one person who's really impacted you. I don't know what you think about what specifically about them. And when you're good, maybe just look up if you're ready. And if there was some characteristic specifically about them that really shaped you. Keep moving to it. Does anyone have one that they want to share with someone that was particularly powerful in your shaping you as an athlete? Yes.
My dad, when I started running, I would wait for him to come home from work and he would run with me every night. That's how I got in shape.
What kind of work? So it sounds like it was...
So sacrifice.
Sacrifice. That's awesome. That's a great one. Thank you. Is there another hand? Yeah.
It was my sister. She's older than me, and I just admired everything she did, and her go-with-the-flow attitude about working hard and willing to do anything for teammates, and her passion for the sport.
If there was one word, what would you say maybe that she gave you?
I mean, about I don't know. She's just my role model. I don't know if that's what you're looking for.
She modeled for you.
Yeah.
Those are great ones. Any other showed you or done for you? I know it's hard with all these to say one word, but. Well, it's maybe resilience at some level, or like appreciation for what you have too. Not to fill in your words, but those are some of the things I was hearing. Cool. Well, those are three amazing ones. I'll say just for me, one of the things that freshman year, right when I joined, I remember preseason was rough for the fall. I guess we started in the summer right before classes if you're a fall sport. For volleyball we were. So I just remember one day my captain of the team sent me a message after practice, and she recognized something about me that I had done that day. She was just like encouraging me and really pushing through on some of the sprints and some of the exercises that we were doing. And for me, that was one of those big things where right off the bat, I was really feeling low, and just having someone on my team recognizing me and saying, you know, I can see you pushing was really, really meaningful. So I guess for me, it was kind of this, like she was recognizing me, and I felt in that moment really like she noticed me, which sometimes, especially when you're a newcomer on a team, is hard. So I think for me, you know, with these different experiences that I've seen thus far, there's a huge power in having emotional intelligence, and I'm going to talk more about what that means. Maybe you've heard the term. There's a book, and there are many books now that have been written on this. But in each of these cases for me, and the different experiences that I've had, I realized that having this power of understanding people and of watching their emotions and also having kind of the self-awareness of yourself and the way you behave can play a huge role in the way that you make others feel and the way that people perform around you and you perform yourself. So my goals for today are the three big ones. One, I want you to understand what emotional intelligence is and kind of what it looks like for you. I want you to think about how that might strengthen your abilities to lead and to be a teammate. And then the last one is just, I actually think that this is going to change your relationships. And I'm going to bring in some cool psychology research around what this can do, and then kind of how you can apply this, but I'm hopeful that you feel that way. Okay. So has anyone heard this term before? Emotional intelligence? Yeah.
Oh, where
Yeah.
I heard it? Oh, well, practice on so I'm a big fan of The Bachelor, and so there was this one girl who basically was she kind of the emotional intelligence connection with basically the Bachelor. They're just like it basically blew up on her. But she was too toxic, actually. So.
She used her emotional intelligence
Yeah.
to deceive me. You've also heard it?
Yeah, I'm in a class right now with like emotional intelligence and
Oh, perfect. You should be on stage with me. Cool. Well, jump in when you hear stuff as well, or if you think I'm selling it wrong. So it was first actually written in a paper in 1964, which was a while ago, and it was actually his dissertation, so I was looking at it this morning. Michael Bildock, I don't know if you may know how to pronounce it, and then Daniel Goleman has made it popular with this book that I was just showing you. But it's now kind of become this known, you know, they say often IQ and EQ, or your emotional intelligence, or EI is kind of what they say, but it's something that is now becoming a more and more commonly used term. And so part of it is kind of this understanding of being able to recognize your own emotions, and also then being able to discern kind of the difference in your feelings. So that can often be attributed to like being able to control anger, or being able to control the way you respond to things in your own story in yourself, in your head. But it also affects kind of the way that you adapt to environments and the way that you perceive emotion in others. And so what does it impact? So there are a lot of things that it can impact your mental health and the way that you handle and cope with stress, the way you handle others. It can also affect your performance in jobs. They've said that people with high emotional intelligence perform much better at work and actually do much better in teams. And also obviously can affect your leadership and the way that you make people feel on the teams that you're part of, the way that you make others feel with your presence. Okay, we're going to start with kind of a game, but what it's going to require is that you pair up with someone near you, hopefully with someone that's maybe not on your team. So just someone nearby. You can do threes if it's easier. I see there are a couple 3 pods, but can you pair up with maybe the person near you next to you? Okay, everyone has someone near them? Yeah? Okay. The first exercise is I want you guys to discuss or figure out what you think this baby is feeling. Okay? So you're going to have about a minute. to think up together about what you think they might be feeling, why they're crying. Okay? You can go. You got 30 seconds. You gotta have kind of a consensus as a group. Okay. Hands up. All right. Does anyone want to kind of tell us what you think this baby might be feeling, or what they might be needing? Yeah.
Diaper's full.
Diaper could be full. Yeah.
Originally, we were thinking sadness, but Lauren thought maybe the mom just came and got to get what he wanted.
Uh-huh. Maybe kind of like, oh, mom's here. Yeah, was there another one?
Hungry.
Hungry? Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah, and most babies, they're like 3 things that they want. It's usually food, or the bathroom, or sleep. Usually, it's laughter and tears, but you can't always tell. But great. Okay, now another one. How about this? What do you think this person might be feeling? So take it, I want you to try and come with consensus for a minute, what they might be thinking and feeling.
Oh, yeah.
Frustration and soccer. Fear.
Okay. You got a consensus? Okay. What do you think this person might be feeling?
Pain.
Pain. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Any others? Yeah.
Fear
Fear? What do you think? What kind of fear?
of like expecting the worst with his injury.
Yeah. What it might mean for their career. Yeah. Great. Any other? Yeah.
Like regret or stuff in the
Yeah. So you're doing that and kind of repeating in their head maybe. How do you think, I didn't ask you this, how might you talk to this person? Yeah. You don't. Yeah, maybe you let them be. Yeah. Would you have like, I'm sorry, would you, yeah, any other thoughts of not necessarily you putting in the spot, but what you say to them, maybe after this initial reaction?
You don't want to leave, you want that.
You know,
Yeah, normally I don't say, are you okay? Because obviously they're not okay. But I would basically say like, breathe, like, something, you're gonna get help.
That's good. Any other one? I know this is obviously a common one with athletics, and often it means people are sitting on the bench, and they're often not getting people really checking in on them or really checking with their emotions. So I think this is a big one of thinking also how you might feel, and how, if you were in this position, what you'd want people to say to you as well. Okay, we're going to look at one at work. So I want you to first think, in this scenario, what do you think these guys are feeling? We'll do this in focus, so maybe take a second just to real quick. What do you think they're feeling?
They're kind of like overwhelmed.
You're not even looking at that. Doing left is different.
Okay, what do we think? What do you think that how are they responding to her? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is she yelling? What is she saying? Definitely. Yes. Any others?
Nervous?
Mm-hmm. Maybe their job's on the line and this is their boss, and they want to do right. And there are 2 of them, so maybe there's also this competition between the 2 of them of who's doing well. Any others? Yeah.
The guy on the left kind of seems pleased with himself, while the guy on the
Kind of a little like a smirk, like
the guy on the right seems a little more concerned.
yeah, definitely. They kind of exaggerate. I think that one of the things I want to emphasize is also like reading people's facial expressions too, which tells a lot often. But yeah, he seems like he's doing just fine with her yelling. What about her? Maybe I want to take a minute, think about what she might be feeling. And we're almost
Oh my God, this is
why might she be angry? Okay. And what do you think? What do you think she might be feeling? Maybe this one's harder because it's harder to empathize with the person in charge sometimes, for kind of what they might be feeling. Yeah. Frustrated? Yeah, that's good. Frustrated, what were you saying?
Disbelief about like what the workers think.
Yeah. Look at me, not get my instructions. This one, I want to tell this story just quickly because I went through this a little bit this past week, where I actually realized that I was wrestling with my boss and kind of trying to figure out, I had this huge deadline and kind of figuring out how do I actually empathize with the fact that all the things she's dealing with when I have my own needs as well. And so I think one of the things I want to just emphasize is thinking about, especially with a teammate or a coach or in your jobs down the road, kind of someone who's frustrated with you or might be feeling something, the power of like stepping into what might be going on and why they might be frustrated, why they might be saying things. There's often a lot behind that. And so I just want to emphasize that part of emotional intelligence and this understanding is being able to kind of step away from a scenario and look at the scenario almost like with these photos and say, what might be happening? I mean, I think even with this one, I study a lot around women in leadership, but there's often women in power and at the top are trying to fight for themselves. Or even people of color often they're trying to stand up and represent, and research kind of shows within minority groups, often in certain positions, that you almost get more defensive and you're trying to protect your space because you don't feel like people are respecting it. And so even in this one, like I've been thinking a lot about the scenario of women in power and what's happening at the top. So anyway, that's just one thing I want to say in terms of what the power of stepping away and trying to understand the scenario can be really powerful, and thinking about that within your own team. Okay, I'm going to do a slight lesson, and I hope it's interesting, but this is a specifically on different components of emotional intelligence. And so there are 4 different categories that kind of the research says are important in being a more emotionally intelligent person. One is being able to perceive other people's emotions. I'll talk about ways. One is able to use your emotions with other people. One is being able to understand emotions of what might be happening. And the last is being able to manage them. So we'll go through those quickly, kind of how you do that. Okay, so the first one is actually kind of what we were just doing in terms of being able to perceive emotions. And so part of that is being able to watch people's faces and understand things and be able to identify what people might be feeling. And so actually that exercise that I just did with you all, kind of just watching a scenario and trying to see it, is actually one way that they've shown to help you build empathy. Because you look at someone's facial expression, you look at kind of thinking about the factors they might be feeling, and then that affects how you might do it. So thinking about even for you on your teams, maybe someone comes in and they're just off. And there might be a whole host of reasons why they're off, but this kind of power, being able to perceive emotions, will help you better know how do you talk to them? What might be the cause of why they're responding this way? So this is a big aspect of emotional intelligence, and it also helps you kind of process information through what you see and what you hear. Okay, next one is being able to actually use your emotions. And I know actually they often look at gender differences, and often men are taught from a young age you shouldn't use emotions, or that maybe it's unmanly, or for women that they're over-emotional. Those are obviously 2 huge gender things that there's such a spectrum, but sometimes we're taught by society how you should be or how you should respond. And so part of the point of this one is that one of the powers that we have in ourselves is the ability to basically control our emotions and the way that we make people feel and the way that we respond to things. And so being able to use emotions to do things like problem solving or to be able to kind of facilitate people in different ways is a huge power that you have as a leader. And so a person who's emotionally intelligent can actually use these moods and this kind of ability to use their emotions to help people feel certain ways. And so again, I think it's a superpower that we actually can control that we don't always think we can control. The third facet is being able to understand emotions and the ability, and this is, again, part of it is again, I did that exercise with the photo, it's like your ability to be able to step away and say, what is happening here? Like, why might this be the case? And kind of understanding the relationship between emotions. Like me with my boss last week, I did not do this well, but it was like, why might she be responding this way? What are the things, and how do I step into her shoes to kind of understand what her emotions might be and why she's responding in such a way? This is just kind of, I think, an important one. And then the last one is being able to manage your emotions. And I think sports, you guys are so lucky to be athletes because you are learning literally skills that you're going to use in every different part of your life moving forward. And I remember at Harvard, and I'm sure it's the case here, people wanted to recruit athletes to work in their companies because you've really been given the chance to actually learn how to work in a team, learn how to push yourself to work towards goals. But also figuring out how to manage your emotions. Because I remember for myself, there were days when I was so off, or I was angry about something at school, and I had to come onto the court and pretend like that was not happening, and be present in that. So again, part of this power that you have within you is the ability to manage your emotions, to recognize what you're feeling, but to the ability to say, I'm gonna be here even though that's what I'm feeling. So people with high emotional intelligence are able to control their emotions, and we'll talk more about kind of the ways in which you can do that. Okay, we're going to do another exercise. I want to take a minute for you to think about someone on your team who is in need of support right now. And so I just want you to take a second and write that person's name. You can don't show the people around you per se, but I want you to, you could write a code name in your head for who they are. But when you think about one person on your team right now who's in need of support. By the way, this is my dad in the front corner. Who's here? The reason that I am here, and the reason I went through the PhD program was because of my own social support for my dad. I was going to try and play music for you guys, but maybe I'll just play some on my phone. Okay, we'll get there. Does everyone have a name in their head? Yeah, one person. Okay. I'm going to teach you for a second. This is like part of what my research was on. So I looked a lot at how do you give social support online. So I looked at communities like Facebook. I looked at communities, I built a mentoring app for people who are new to a company to get social support when they were new in the company. I looked at how to get support from people with crowdfunding online, or how to help people who are working at the students in classrooms and give them support through technology. So I studied social support for a long time. The reason I want to show you this slide is not to bore you, but to show you that there are different kinds of support that you can give people. And so these are, House 1981 is a researcher who he wrote in 1981 kind of the different types of social support that people can give. So one of them is emotional support. And so that's kind of giving people, it's empathy, it's instilling, giving them a sense of trust in them, it's showing them that you care for them. So sometimes people need emotional support. They just need you to be there. It was kind of what you were saying is that with the injury. Like you sometimes just want someone to just sit with you when you're injured. Or you want someone to just put their arm around you, or someone to say that they care about you. So that's one form of support you can give. Another one is called instrumental support. And that's basically like tangible aid and services that can help someone. So maybe that in a team is, let me show you how to do this. Let me kind of help you get the training in that you need, or the reps that you need in. So instrumental support is like a specific kind of aid or assistance that you're giving someone. Informational support is more around verbal advice or giving someone, you know, let's problem solve on what might be happening, why you're feeling this way. Some people need informational support. And then the last one that's kind of this big category is called appraisal support. And so that's basically affirmation on the appropriateness of what they're doing. So maybe it's you saying to a teammate, like, your, do volleyball because it's my head, but like, your serve is great when you do this way. So part of it's, you can affirm the value of what they do. You could affirm their, which is basically kind of, I'm using a project case, but that could be the value of kind of what they're working on. One could be valuing the work itself, and then one could be more of like valuing them as a person, giving them appraisal support of like the way what you bring to this team is really powerful. So these are all kinds of different support that you can give. The reason I want to emphasize this is that people need different kinds of support. And part of your goal in using emotional intelligence is kind of understanding what people need. And this again is going to play out when you're leading a team in a business, or in as a teacher in a classroom, or if you're in pretty much any job that you could do, thinking about as you lead, what are the ways in which you can support people, what do people need, and also being able to tell people, like, I need this from you now. I know even in the past few weeks I was saying to my parents on the phone, because they live in New Mexico, and I was like, I really just need you to be like checking in with me and saying that I can do this and I can push forward in this. So part of that is understanding ourselves and what we need as well. Okay, we're going to do an exercise right now. I'm going to try and put on some music. I want you to actually think about, with that teammate that you wrote down that name, I'm going to actually have you, you're going to write them a letter. To kind of affirm them. And again, I want you to think about what kind of support they might be needing right now. Maybe it's just appreciation of like an expression of value for them and what they do. You can kind of decide what you think they need to hear right now. But I'm actually this is a real letter that you're going to give to that teammate. Okay? And maybe there's someone sitting in this room beside you, who knows? But think about what they might need, and I want to give you a little bit right now to actually write them a letter. It could also be a coach, if you feel like a coach is someone that really is in need of support in some way right now.
At the beginning, I was doing them all, and then the
come look up, but no rush.